and they had popcorn like they were watching a show. And I was like, alright, I'll go along with this. And the cop shows up, and he keeps shining the flashlight in my eyes and out of my eyes, you know, blinding me. And I asked, you know, why are you doing that? He's like, why am I doing what? And he keeps doing it. And I'm like, why do you keep shining it in my eyes? He's like, I'm not. And we're going back and forth. It's like, can I see some identification? He's like, well, what do you need identification for? I said, I'd like to see your identification. You know, to make sure he was a police officer, just because of the way things were going and this big prank that seemed to be going on. And he opens up his vest, and he's got a big badge printed on a piece of paper. It says, here's my identification. And that didn't make sense. And the guy behind him is giggling, and the officer behind him is, you know, is giggling. And he's like, well, you want me to call an ambulance? So I said, yes. So they called the ambulance. They did the vitals. They said, we're going to have to bring you to the hospital to run the test to find out if you've been poisoned. I get to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital, I see that, because you can see in the back window, you can see the reflection inside. Well, I see my ex-girlfriend's brother's driving the ambulance. Well, he doesn't have a license to do that, and he's not on the EMT team as far as I know. So he, you know, we get to the hospital, we're pulling in, and her parents are there. And we pull in, and they take me in the room and all this stuff, and they're doing these tests, and they're like, well, we need a urine test. So I go in the bathroom, and I try giving them a urine test, I can't get anything to come out, and then all of a sudden, just like crazy, I had it all over the place. You know, trying to clean up, and I thought they gave me a leaky cup. I put the lid on, and there was urine all over the sink, and so I put it on a paper towel when I brought it out. I said it was leaking, and it was so orange you couldn't see through it, and they knew automatically what it was. And they had a doctor from Marshfield come in and ask if I would, you know, commit myself to a program and all that. And I said, yeah, you know, I'd go along with all this stuff. And then the director came in and said, I have to have you sign this paperwork. And I'm thinking, you know, this is just this big, you know, production for a prank. And we ended up on one of those shows, and I can see the sign up in the ceiling in the tile of what the show was. I can't remember what the show was, though, but it had a pig face on it. And I don't remember the name, but there was, they had it, little micro controlled ants and stuff, and flies going around the room, so there's bugs all over the place, and spiders, and the nurse walks up, and I see her name tag, and it's this, you know, sperm bank, and I say, you know, nice name tag, and she laughs about it, and I can hear people in the background inside of the door, and I hear, you know, people that I think are in on this prank. They take me in for chest x-rays and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, I'm all happy with it. I was still deathly afraid of needles, and, you know, they were poking me all over the place with needles and giving me IVs and transfusions, and I think it's part of this big joke. And on the way to the hospital, on the pole that holds the IV bags, there was this doll, which when they did certain things, it would go up, and I mean, it was basically almost a naked doll, and it would do weird stuff, and it was supposed to be comical, I guess, and I thought it was, and they got me out, brought me in. They put me into a room. They asked me a few questions, and I remember trying to figure some stuff out. It was like they were testing me on stuff, and I could see this wire sticking out of the TV. So, and I thought it was basically a miniature camera that they're using to watch me, and I could hear people talking on the other side of the wall. And I had I was trying to peel apart my towels and my blankets because I had seen a commercial on TV about, these are just made out of this paper material and they're really cheap, and this is how you get them apart. And I could hear something jingling inside, and so I wanted to get in there and find out what it was. Come to find out, it was my IVs out of my wrist that were knocking together. Not long after that, I passed out, and I don't remember much of that room anymore. I don't know if I woke up in that room or not, but a couple days later I woke up and my mom was there and my brother was there, and this was real. And then I passed back out again, and I think I ended up in a different room, and they hooked the alarm up to my bed so I couldn't get up to pee. So, and they're pumping me full of saline and like 4 or 5 units of blood and plasma and antibiotics and a bunch of antipsychotics and stuff like that. And I've got to pee like, every time I wake up I've got to pee like crazy. Can't get out of bed though. I've got a plastic urinal. So I go to kneel on the bed so I can, make it somewhat clean, and the alarm's going off and nurse comes in and I'm on my knees trying to pee into a bowl, and eventually they shut that off. So I was able to get up and go to the bathroom. Very, very weak. Had a great appetite, but just very weak. Peeing a lot, way more than I should have. And in the end, I did not want to stay at the hospital any longer. They wanted to admit me to the psych ward, and rightfully so. I mean, with what I said I'd seen and all that, and the clock was stopping, and the doctors were actors, and all this kind of stuff, and so I adamantly said no. I checked myself out. My brother brought me home. I was very weak for a while. But things, they're still not back to normal, and that was March. But my family stuck behind me. Now I'm in need of a liver transplant, but that's about the extent of the hallucinations. And everybody always asks, well, how didn't you know that you were hallucinating? There was so much ammonia seeping into my brain that my brain didn't know what was going on. My brain saw every single thing as real, and that's why I can remember every single detail from March of what happened that day. I can remember what we ate, I can remember what we played, I can remember what I saw alongside the road, the girl jogging with the dog. She had a really nice body. She was jogging with a Labrador, and then I went to turn around, check her out, and she was gone. And this road had no trees, no nothing, just field. She was gone. Got to Tina's Road, people were selling Christmas trees in March. I go to look back, they're gone. I see decorations all over the place for Halloween. And that's about the only thing that didn't go away was the decorations. They stayed there, and it once everything was out of my system and my ammonia levels were back to normal, it made it very scary. I could have killed somebody. I could have gotten into a car accident and killed myself or somebody else. But my brain just wasn't functioning correctly. And that's probably what scares me the most, and that's after I got to the hospital and everything kind of got settled somewhat back down. I was happy I went. they saved my life. So those are the grand hallucinations. If I remember more of them, I've had more other than those, but that was the day that was really wicked, and I can see it all like it just happened. But if I remember some of the other ones, I will put them in a part 2. Hopefully this part didn't run over. Till next time, subscribe, like, comment please. Let me know if maybe you went through the same thing. I think I'm full of crap. Whatever you feel. Just let me know.